Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's 2025, you know what that means. It's time for a collection video. I'm gonna get straight into it. First, we got my first balisong ever from Bear & Sons. Pretty good little knife. I was a little bit disappointed when I first got it because it wasn't a Kraken or anything special, but for $50 and my first knife ever when I was like 14, I couldn't ask for better. That being said, I bought better with this little guy that I got from Arena Accessories online, and I'm pretty sure there's an American reseller. This dude has fallen apart on me many times and is currently missing these screws. And it's sandwich, got like these little it's all metal, little scales that don't really do anything, and it is very uncomfortable to flip, and it's tiny. This thing is small. I'll give you a little comparison next to my other one. It's small. You'll see when it compares to the other knives, but tiny knife right there. And then we got this guy, who's always a pain to get open because it's got a spring latch and incredibly weird weight. I also got this at a oh Lord, I got this thing at a Four Seasons, which is a flea market. So it's a good old flea market pick, a good mall knife. And it wasn't that sharp when I got it, still isn't that sharp, and flips kind of strangely, but I didn't have $100 to spend on a balisong, and this was before there were widely available cheaper options. Same with this guy. I got him at another flea market, and this was at a time when there weren't many options under $100 that were half decent, but yeah, cheap stainless steel from God knows where. And you might start to pick up on a theme between my earlier knives, but we also have this guy. He's a comb knife, and you may have noticed he's broken. The screw on this guy got lost and hasn't been found, so he's just been chilling with a broken handle, and I haven't had the heart to get rid of him because he's sentimental. One of my earlier knives and my first comb knife. So now we actually get to move into the meat of my collection, which my first real expensive knife, my BRS Barebones aluminum channel. This dude's an absolute beast. I've beat him for over 2 years now, and he's taken it like a champ. Beautiful knife, and it only has a little bit of scuffs around here where I've dropped it on concrete, but other than that, this thing's held up wonderfully despite being aluminum. And my only real complaint about this knife is these bare, slippery sides right here, and right here I had to sand down this little thing right here because it's not chamfered, and it's extremely uncomfortable if you get your finger caught in there. So I sanded it down a little bit so that I wouldn't get my fingers caught in that little space. Other than that, tune's great. Everything about this is pretty great. Flips great too. It's not a Kraken, but it's a pretty decent competitor to it. Then we have our beautiful Kershaw Lucha with Flytanium aluminum channel handles, and this thing is beautiful. I've also got zippy inserts, which make it look very stylistically nice. I love the style of this thing. Originally I got an OD green, and then I swapped it with these Flytanium handles, and the only reason I got the OD green is because it came with the stonewash blade for cheaper, and I think not stonewash, blackwash, and it just looks beautiful. Whole reason I got this knife, and so I could actually experience modding a knife, because I didn't have the heart to mod this knife, and there weren't many mods available for it other than just getting different handles. But it was already on aluminum and I didn't really feel like, modding that one. So I got a knife that its whole platform was around modding, and honestly, I really enjoy it. Bushings are quite fun, but so are bearings. This is a bearing knife, so it flips a little bit differently, carries a lot more momentum, and has way better swing than most bushing knives. But some people would argue that's also to its detriment. It also has a pretty weird weight for if you're into more standard flipping. This isn't a standard flipping knife. Then we have this Marcolo Comet, and it has also taken quite a beating. And I'm guessing this uses cheaper aluminum than this guy, and it has a bead blast, which doesn't help it at all. This thing's very, very slippery, and these pins right here, these end pins, have fallen out on me multiple times, and they're currently loose, so I'm going to be careful with flipping this thing. But as you can probably see, there is no Marcolo branding right here because there is a giant hole. And I actually didn't enjoy the weight of the Marcolo Comet whenever I first got it. It was a bit weird, and some of that was probably because of excess pivot weight because of the material that was here. Might not have been, but I got my mom's boyfriend to drill a hole in it, and yeah, there is now a very beautiful hole right where the logo used to be. And it's just big enough to fit your finger in so you can do some funny tricks. But it improves the weight for me a little bit. I think this knife would also benefit from some speed channels. I'd feel bad getting rid of the whole Comet insignia though. But I think eventually, maybe somewhere down the road, I'd put some channels in this thing, see how it flips then. But it flips a bit better than it originally did, which is nice. And it's decently public friendly, so if I can figure out a way to keep these end pins in, I'll take this out in public more often. Next, we have our OG Squiddy. I actually had an OG Squiddy a while ago, and it would have gone about right here on the list for when I bought it. And I actually lost it somehow. I don't know where it went, and I was quite sad. So for my birthday, my brother bought me another one, and it's an OG Squiddy. What can I say? It was one of my first flea market-esque balisong. So it probably was the best flipping balisong I had until I got this. So it's a balisong I learned quite a few tricks on. Sad that it can't fan, but still a pretty nice balisong. And Squid always does a good job making, balisongs. They have decent tolerances. Can't really complain about their quality at all. It's pretty good. And for how cheap it is, I'm never going to complain about that. Good knife. Next, we got the BaliPlus Tsunami V4. And this thing has a storied history with me. Most notably because I have changed the hardware on this thing three times, and I've changed the washers on it 3 times as well. So I'll give you a little bit of an insight into how this thing came to be where it is today. First, I bought it with the original BaliPlus hardware, which is the blue one. Then I ordered the purple hardware, and I put that in, and the purple hardware stripped immediately. Like the first time tightening it, the purple hardware stripped. So I took the purple hardware out, and I was like, you know what, the hardware's out, might as well replace the washers too. So I put some stainless steel Flytanium washers in there, and worked pretty fine. And I also put the blue ones back in, the blue screws back in, and seemed to be working fine. Then I decided to try to tune it. And so I spent, good amount of time tuning it, ruined 2 bushings, but luckily it came with 2 extra bushings, so I was good. And luckily the tune I got out of the 2 extra bushings has carried through an extra set of screws and 2 new washers. So somehow, by a miracle, this thing has a crazy good tune. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but there is almost zero play. Like I would have to push it to get play out of it. And it has nearly perfect swing. I mean, I don't see any bind in that. But getting back to the hardware story, I actually started to get my blue hardware stripping. Like it started to strip just like the purple hardware. So I actually went onto Squid Industries store and bought authentic Squid Industries titanium hardware for the Tsunami. And that is what is currently in this, and it is not stripped. Not even close. And I don't need to constantly retighten it because it actually holds its tune without Loctite, which is crazy. I mean, maybe not crazy, but it's more than I expected from Squid. Given how I got to retighten this thing like every, I don't know, like half an hour whenever I'm flipping it. But yeah, this thing has had some problems, especially with tuning and with what washers I use. Oh, I'm using phosphorus bronze washers from Squid now. I replaced them whenever I took them out because people advised me that if I didn't lube this thing constantly, then it could eat into the metal. I just didn't want to risk all of that, so changed back to phosphorus bronze, and I can't complain. This thing is absolutely amazing to flip. And it has, you know, pleasantly surprised me as one of my favorite flipping balisongs that I've gotten. Next up, we have the Christmas edition. So I'll go with everything technically from here forward. I got at the exact same time on Christmas Day. So I'm not going to put it in any specific chronological order, but, you know, just for fun, I'll include the silly ones first. First, I got this fork balisong, which is pretty fun. It got some weird, it's on two washers. I don't know if you can see that, but it's on two washers that are some sort of like plastic, and it surprisingly flips like decently well. It doesn't have much bind, and like only a tiny bit of a little bit of play. But I was pleasantly surprised by just somebody thought to make something like this. You know, I think it would actually be cool if somebody made a I don't know, like a $500 titanium fork balisong that like flipped crazy, had crazy specs. But I doubt that's going to happen. But if there's any makers watching this video, please do that because that would be fun. But yeah, the fork balisong will always be awesome. Next up, we have the spoon balisong. And this one is even crazier because it doesn't flip. You can't, like, whenever you close this thing, it doesn't close all the way. And yeah, that happens because it's a spoon. It's got more depth than a regular balisong would, so it sticks out a little bit, and it binds on this handle on the inside of it. And so when I have it, it gets wedged up in there and it binds, and so you need to flip it really hard for it to do anything. Fun little, you know, joke item, but flipping wise, it might not be the best. Same with the fork, but you know, I appreciate them as gifts. They're pretty fun. Next, we have the LDY Frank, and this dude has been a sleeper for me. He's awesome. I never expected the Frank to be like as fun as he is, but I mean, I watched the Blade Bias review, and I've seen a couple other miscellaneous reviews, and nobody ever really, you know, recommends the Frank to the average flipper. It's only really recommended to collectors, but I mean, from what I've seen of it, what I've flipped of it, and how it's held up for me particularly, this thing is great. I'd put it on par with, like, you know, maybe my second favorite balisong behind my Tsunami clone. I mean, it definitely outclasses my first balisong, but I think it's apples to oranges. This thing is definitely kind of like the milk toast standard flipping balance and stuff, and this is kind of like the wacky one, and I love wacky, and I think everybody should have a little bit of wacky in their collection because this thing flips awesome, and it has really wacky weight. It fans like beautifully, and if you do like, oh, just look how far that thing fans. If it doesn't, you know, rub up against my hand, but this thing's just amazing. It does aerials great, does everything great. Rollovers can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but once you get used to the weight, it's perfectly fine. I mean, this thing is just awesome. Love the Frank. Love the funny face. And this is one of the only knives in my collection that people ask me, is it sharp? I mean, you can obviously tell a lot of the other stuff is either sharp or dull, but people ask me if this is sharp all the time. It's a false life blade, but I think the smiley face confuses people because you could actually sharpen that to be a knife, which adds even more to the wackiness. And last, but certainly, I'm not even going to say that, the Necron. And this thing has been the most, I would say probably one of the most controversial balisongs ever released, because it does so many things in so many ways that people do not like. And again, I got this for Christmas as a gift, and so I did not buy this personally. I would not recommend you buy this personally because I don't think it's just worth the money. You have to do a lot of things for it to flip good and to have a good tune and to be worth it, because I don't think it's worth it from a consumer standpoint as it is. There's quite a few things about this balisong that trouble me and a lot of reviewers, particularly T6, that is Loctited. For the love of God, please never do it again, Benchmade. Please never do Loctited T6 ever again. I might have a heart attack. But besides that, I was pleasantly surprised by the flipping, and I had mine bushing modded by Ben. I'll leave his Instagram in the description because he's a cool dude and makes great mods. And he had my Necron back to me within, a week or two, which is really great because I think I'm about like halfway across the country from him. So great time. And does it at an affordable price? If you have a Necron, 100% recommend this mod. This is the only mod I would get for the Necron, mainly because I don't want to fiddle with these screws anymore. I don't want to get zippy spacers, mainly because I can't get zippy spacers because these screws have stripped. One of the sets of screws on here is stripped. I basically got it apart, changed these out for the smaller ones, put it back together, realized that I liked the bigger ones more, and now I can't get it back apart. So, you know what? We're living with it, and we're loving it. And even though I have my gripes with it, I still love it. And I think it fits nicely in my collection as, none of the balisongs in my collection are considered the best in their class. Maybe besides this guy's maybe one of the best flipping clones. Even that could be disputed with some of the other, Madco, the Chab, maybe even some of the other Tsunami clones that people think flip better. But I think this fits into my collection as just a very unique knife that has a very, let's say, storied history. And so, yeah, that's my collection. Do a little lineup real quick. Actually, you know what? I'll do it like a stacked lineup. And maybe one of these days I'll do like a balisong ranking of my collection. I mean, I think it would be fairly obvious. All right, I reordered them because they didn't fit in frame, but I'm going to end this video off with my last little 2024-2025 announcement. Be prepared for something big, because I have, let's just say I have a little surprise relating to balisongs coming in the works, and I think you guys will enjoy it very much. And let me just say it's not a cheap surprise. All right, that's all I'm going to give away for now, but expect something big in the next couple months. All right, hope you guys liked the video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and peace out, everybody. Have a good February and Valentine's Day for the people that are watching this later.